name's Chris Coughlin. I'd like to welcome you to our third small business outreach event of the year, and they're getting bigger and bigger, and it looks like we're taking root in a good program and a good process. We're taking all the information from you and trying to make sure that what we are providing is what is useful to you. With that said, Tim Pennick will come up and welcome you all.
Welcome everybody on behalf of everybody here at TV Pennick. I'm Tim Pennick, president of TV Pennick & Sons. And I just want to let you guys know that even though it seems like it's not very good times out there, there are tremendous opportunities out there right now. Tremendous opportunities with our firm, tremendous opportunities for small businesses. And that's why we're here. Now today's topic, safety, is one of the most important topics in all of construction. And I know that it wasn't that many years ago that we looked on safety as a cost center, right? But it's not. I can tell you that done right, money spent on safety pays off at least 150%. Plus, if you don't do it, you won't get any work anyway, right? Because no one's going to hire you if you don't have the right safety stats and the right safety credentials. So today is not only going to be a great networking opportunity for you guys and a great opportunity for us to meet you, but it's also an opportunity to learn something perhaps a little more about safety that you can apply to your business and to make your business better, to make your business safer, and to help your people go home to their families in the same condition that they come to work.
I'm going to give you a 30,000-foot overview of safety, so I'm not going to get too in-depth. There are some complexities to what I'm going to talk about, but I'm going to give you just a brief overview and a big picture so you can be aware of what's out there. What are the rules? What do I have to do? Everybody comes to my job site and says I gotta wear this kind of boot and that kind of vest, and sometimes I have to wear gloves. What are the rules? There are three entities of rules out there. The first one is Cal-OSHA. They regulate California. Unless you're on a military installation or a federal land or an Indian reservation. Okay, so Cal-OSHA is all your municipal work, private works within California. You have Fed-OSHA. Fed-OSHA is on all federal installations and land, including Indian reservations. And then on military bases, you have another layer on Fed-OSHA, which is the EM 385. It's the engineer's manual. It's the Army Corps of Engineers safety manual. And you're right in the middle of it all. So most of the rules and regulations are the same. There are differences. In California, you can be up 7.5 feet until you need fall protection. But if you step across the line and you get onto a military base, it's 6 feet. So there are some very key differences in different areas. But by and large, most of the rules are the same or very similar. Cal-OSHA has a consultative service. I'd recommend it to you. It's free. They will come out to your workplace. They will evaluate your work sites and tell you where your deficiencies are. And guess what? They won't write you a citation. They will give you a list of things you need to fix. Now you're obligated to fix those, or they are required by law to pass it on to enforcement to come out and inspect. But they're very friendly, they're very helpful, and they have a lot of resources, free publications, free template programs. Their goal is to really help you. And Cal-OSHA has offices from San Diego all the way up to Northern California. So wherever you're doing work, you can ask these people to come out for free. Fed-OSHA. There are fewer Fed-OSHA offices in California because they're only covering military bases and things of that nature. But wherever you don't have an agreement state, California is an agreement state because there's a Cal-OSHA. Nevada is also an agreement state because there's Nevada OSHA. Now, there's 26 states that are agreement states. So if you move outside of the state, then you need to look at who regulates, whether it be Fed or a local state agency. And the web pages I've given you, again, have that clearly listed with maps and contact information. The EM 385. That's the thickest book. The military is very, very serious about safety. You get a cut, you get a scratch, you get a bump knee, they want to know what happened, why it happened, what you're doing to prevent it, and why didn't you prevent it before it happened. So It's very, very serious. They're very interested in your statistics and your reports and making sure they're thorough and clear. Pre-planning with activity hazard analysis. I'll show you a picture of one of those towards the end of the presentation. A lot of unique paperwork to the Army Corps jobs. Who's in charge? We reviewed that. Cal OSHA on state land and private land within the state. Fed OSHA in non-agreement states, Indian reservations, and federal property. So if you're doing an IRS building or a post office or something like that, it's going to be Fed OSHA. Double check your contracts too, because sometimes they relinquish the authority to Cal. And on military installations, the Army Corps manual. Look the part. So outside of all the regulations, who do you want on your job site? If you can see that there's a guy grinding with a piece of plastic over his face for his protective equipment, or there's a guy on the other side with an orange vest, a hard hat, safety glasses, gloves. He looks like he's ready to work. If a safety inspector walks up and sees you dialed in, he's going to at least know you're thinking about safety and that you have some sort of awareness to safety. If he sees you jerry-rigging your equipment, you're not wearing personal protective equipment for the task you're doing, you're going to be a sitting duck. Most of those folks who are doing these inspections in the way of a government agency, they want the easy hit. They're going to go just right to the person that they can find the most stuff real quick, write you up, go away, and not have any difficulty. So looking the part, and that goes for you guys, the owners of the corporation. Don't tell your guys you got to wear an orange vest, you got to wear steel-toe boots, you got to do this, you got to do that, and then walk out there in your wingtips and your t-shirt and shorts. It's got the example. If it's important to you, it's going to be important to your people. So it's got to start with the management. Recommended safety training. Well, what should I do for myself and for my people? For supervisors and owner levels, I'd recommend a 30-hour OSHA training. That's 30 hours of rules and regulations. That way, when I come up to you on a job site and I say you're out of compliance, you can go, show me, because I've read the regulation on scaffold, and I don't think I am. You can be aware of what you're doing, as opposed to just rolling over when someone asks you to do something, just go, oh, okay, that must be true. Know why it's true, know why it's not. There are resources out there, too, that can help you with that. 30-hour OSHA, first aid CPR, and competent person training. If you're an earth-moving subcontractor, you better have people trained in excavation safety, and trenching safety. Confined space, crane supervisor, and fall protection. Those are big, big ticket items. For your trade people, get them a 10-hour OSHA training so they know what it is, who OSHA is, what it is. It's a broad level training. CPR and first aid too. If somebody needs CPR and first aid, you need your people on site to have it. Forklift training for your forklift operators. There's not very many trades out there that don't have to use a forklift at one point or another. And then user training for things like fall protection, excavation, confined space. So if your people are going to be using these sorts of things, they need a user level training. Who knows what a competent person is? Someone has to have the knowledge of what they're doing. So if it's trenching and excavation, they need to know about soils and protective measures and all that sort of stuff, when you need a ladder, when you need to bench and slope. And they have to have the authority. So if you tell your guy who's your foreman, you're the competent person, and you name him as the competent person, he has to have the authority to stop work if he finds an unsafe condition. If that person does not have the authority, he's not the competent person. If that person does not have the knowledge of what to look for and to reasonably predict hazards, they are not the competent person. So if you just give them the authority and they don't know the difference between a class A, B, or C soil, they're not a competent person. So there's two things, knowledge and authority. And that authority has to be designated from the company that they work for. And that's a very important term, competent person, that you'll see through all levels of regulations, whether it be state, federal, or the Army Corps. AGC of San Diego is a great resource for training. They have trainings every month in all different disciplines. The OSHA Training Institute, we're very fortunate in San Diego. People come from all over the western U.S. to come to these trainings at the OSHA Training Institute. SafeCon is a local consulting group that people use. Lots of contractors use. You may use them. They have a great training facility as well. The Pacific Safety Council has training services there too. So there's 4 great places to do trainings. Safety documents. Injury and illness prevention program. If you get to 10 employees or more, you need to have an injury and illness prevention program. It can be scary and overwhelming to try and write one of these if you've never seen one before. There's a resource right there, a web page on a template of how to do that and get it started. You can look to all those training agencies as well, and they can help you develop that. Activity hazard analysis. This is the most recent form that is being used on military bases. It looks a little bit complex. It's pretty easy. You line out what you're doing step by step. I'm going to get out of the truck. I'm going to unload the truck. I'm going to plug in my tools. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that until I'm done. Then you list potential hazards. I could trip getting out of my truck. The cord on my saw could be damaged. I could not have a good source of power. Whatever the hazards might be, you might have an overhead hazard or a hazard to your eye. You list the hazards, and then you list what you're going to do to protect yourself. I'm going to inspect my equipment. I'm going to wear a hard hat. I'm going to wear safety glasses. And then at the bottom, you talk about the training that you've done for the folks. And some of it can be on-the-job training. Trained a guy on how to use a drill, making sure that he doesn't put his hand in the drill bit or whatever the case may be. Inspections and things of that nature. So it's a pretty basic form. Show a knowledge of safety. Ask questions. If the section of your contract on safety is vague, ask questions. What are you guys going to require? Show a safety policy in a program. Know what your OSHA log is. Those sorts of things. So if you show a knowledge, you take a 10 or a 30-hour OSHA class, they're going to cover all that sort of stuff. And if you can speak just the right amount of safety to a general contractor and show that you know what it is and that you're concerned with it and that you're actually going to implement it on your job site. So you got to start to talk it at the beginning, and then when you hit the job site, you got to make sure that your people are walking the walk.
Doing all military stuff. We don't win. They're just like,
What kind are they?
Thanks for the dinner.